In the previous video, sir has discussed about how to understand a fluid flow pattern by Lagrangian method or Eulerian method. Sir has also discussed about velocity, acceleration components of a given fluid flow. He had also explained you what are the different types of fluid flow. In this video, we are going to discuss about the continuity equation. If I have to describe the continuity equation in one simple thing, this is the one of the most important derivation or the equation in the entire fluid mechanics, right? So there are a few of the basic equations like Bernoulli's equation, which is energy equation, and continuity equation, and then pressure at a point equation, and then we have impulse momentum equation. So these are some of the equations which will govern or which will make you understand any kind of fluid flow problems. Okay, so we are going to discuss about this continuity equation. So when you are discussing this continuity equation, I would like to give you one example of what is continuity is. Okay, so continuity equation is based on a principle called law of conservation of mass. What is law of conservation of mass? Law of conservation of mass says that any mass cannot be created nor be destroyed. It only changes its form from one state to the other state, like liquid, gas and solid, like that. Okay, so by keeping that in mind, I would like to solve this continuity equation. So while solving this continuity equation, there is an example that I would like to give, and you need to begin to understand that, and using that condition we could be able to solve this. Okay, imagine a circular tank that you have, or the overhead water tank that you have at the top of your building. Okay, so basically there is an input and an output for your tank, overhead water tank, right? So you try to imagine if the input is greater and output is less, what will happen in the storage of the tank? What will happen with the volume of water that is stored in the tank? If the input is greater, output is less, the storage will keep on increasing. Okay, so the change in storage is positive. Okay, there is an increase in the storage of water in the tank. Okay, now if the output is greater and input is less, what will happen? The water that is stored will keeps on reducing. So this is what law of conservation of mass says in a simple word. So law of conservation of mass can be equated in this simple terms, where I can say that input minus output will be equals to change in storage, right? The rate of change of storage. Okay, now understanding this background, we would like to continue with our continuity equation. So what I'll do is, first I'll explain this figure. Any derivation is hidden behind the given figure itself. So this figure will explain all these equations that are written over here. Okay, so let us understand what is this diagram that I have drawn. This is called parallel pipe. So if I have to explain the parallel pipe, it is quite similar to that of cube, but there is a difference in the cube and the parallel pipe. In cube, all the dimensions that you measure are of same length. In case of parallel pipe, the dimensions that you measure will not be of same length. Okay, let me explain this. Cube will be having a mutual perpendicular dimensions, right? So we usually have Cartesian coordinates, polar coordinates, cylindrical coordinates and all of those. So here we are using Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian coordinates called x, y and z. So these are the three directions in which I can measure any given length. Okay, so when you measure a cube, its length, breadth and depth will be of same value. Okay, all the dimensions in length, breadth and depth will be of same value. Okay, but in case of parallel pipe, it is different. All the dimensions that you measure, either in length, breadth or depth, they will be not equal to each other. Okay, now let us consider this is your x direction, this is your y direction, this is your z direction. So whatever you measure in the x direction, I am calling it as delta x. Okay, the thing that you measure in the z direction, we are calling it as delta z, and the length that you measure in the y direction will be called as delta y. So here delta x, delta y and delta z are not of same dimension. So such kind of geometrical figure we call as parallel pipe. This is what you need to understand first from this figure. Okay, now the next thing what we need to focus is on the point that I have placed here. This is called point P of x comma y comma z. This is the midpoint of all the planes of this parallel pipe. If you go from delta x, this point is situated, if you go in the x direction, this point is situated at a distance of x by 2, exactly at the midpoint. This point is situated at a distance of z by 2 from the z axis. Similarly, from the y axis also, it is situated at a point of delta y by 2. So this P is representing the midpoint of the parallel pipe, exactly the center of the parallel pipe. Okay, now at that particular point, we would like to understand what are the velocities that are available. Okay, now this is the parallelepiped. In this imaginary parallelepiped, imagine from all the directions the water is flowing inside this parallelepiped. Okay, now let us first understand what are the different phases from which the water could enter into this parallelepiped. Okay, now you can simply say that this will have left face. Okay, now let us see what is left face: A dash, A, B, B dash. Okay, now what is the right side of the parallelepiped face? D dash, D, C and C dash. Okay, so these are the planes which are left and right side. Okay, now similarly we can have the faces with which the water can enter into the parallelepiped. Okay, in front and back. So assume this is your front side because this is the Z direction. So in this direction we'll have A, A dash, D dash and D and D dash. Okay, similarly B dash, B, C and C dash. So if I come from the X direction, I will encounter two faces. Okay, if I go from the Z direction, I will encounter two faces. Similarly from the Y direction also we'll encounter two faces, which is top and bottom faces. Okay, now this is your parallelepiped which is having 6 faces. Okay, now we are assuming that the water is flowing from all the 6 sides in this parallelepiped, in this imaginary parallelepiped. Okay, now as I have already explained you, the dimension that you measure in delta in X direction, we are calling it as delta X, and this is delta Z and delta Y. These are the dimension of this parallelepiped which are not equal to each other. Delta X is not equal to delta Y, delta X is not equal to delta Z. Neither delta X and delta Y are equal. Okay, they are all different values. Okay, now after understanding this background, what we will do is we will try to define what are the velocities that we can have. Okay, at this point P, at any point P, if it is a 3-dimensional flow, we can have 3 different velocities. Okay, sir has already explained this. If it is X direction, you will have U. If it is Y direction, we will have velocity component called V, and if it is Z direction, we will have velocity component called W. Okay, so we will have 3 different directions. In the 3 different directions, we will have 3 different components of velocity, U, V and W respectively, in X, Y and Z. Okay, now the first thing what I want to do is that I want to calculate how much is the mass of water that is entering from the left face and the right face in the X direction. Okay, so if you are moving in the X direction, you will encounter the left face of the parallelepiped and you will encounter the right face of the parallelepiped. I would like to understand how much is the mass of fluid flow in the parallelepiped per second in this parallelepiped from left and right face. Okay, or we can say how much is the mass of water that is ending in the X direction. That is what I would like to define. So before I define how much is that, I would like to know at this point P, how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing per second. So to calculate that, we know how much is the velocity at this point in the X direction. How much is that? It is U. Okay, now the U is multiplied by rho. Okay, now please tell me what is the unit for kg. The unit for rho is kg per meter cube and the unit for U is meter per second. Right, so now what I'll do is I'll multiply the area of the left face or right face. Okay, so because this will be the area with which the mass is flowing from the point P. Okay, the area will be delta Y and delta Z. So let me assume that the unit for delta Y and delta Z are meter. So meter cube will get cancelled. So what is left over is kg per second. So kg is representing mass, second is representing time. So kg per second means what? That is the mass that is flowing at this point in the X direction. Okay, so the mass of fluid that is flowing per second from the point P is rho U delta Y delta Z. So that is what I have written here. This is the first equation. Okay, right. Now I told I am not only interested in finding out how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing at point P, I am interested to know how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing inside the parallelepiped from left and right side. So let us go for the left side first. I am calling this as M1X. M1X represents the mass of fluid that is flowing per second from the left side of the face. Okay, right. So that is what been written here. So what is this face? A dash, A, B, B dash. Okay, and what is the area of this? This area will be equals to this length multiplied by this length. So what is this length? This length is equal to delta Z and this length is equal to delta Y. So delta Y multiplied by delta Z will give you the area of this plane. Okay, out. Now if at this point the mass of fluid flow is rho u delta y delta z. If I want to find out how much is the mass of fluid flow at this point, I will go negative. Okay, I have to deduct something. Okay, if you are going in this direction, in the positive x direction, I will consider positive value. If I go in the reverse direction, I will consider it to be negative. Okay, if I am going backwards. So rho u delta y delta z minus of, now there will be change of rho and u, as we know that fluids are of both compressible and incompressible fluid. If I am assuming the fluid to be incompressible, the fluid will change its density with respect to space. So that's why rho will also change, and you know x. If the flow is non-uniform, it means what? The velocity will change with respect to spatial distance, right? So that's why the change of rho u with respect to x. Okay, now that is the change that is happening if you reach to till this point. Okay, and it is multiplied by delta x by 2. See, this is your delta x by 2. Why it is delta x by 2? Right now the point P is at the midpoint. Now we are going backward to this face. Okay, if you are going to this face, what is the distance that is covered from point P to this face? It is equals to delta x by 2. So that's why the change of rho u in rho u by dx into delta x by 2 into delta y delta z will give you how much is the total change of mass of fluid flowing per second in this direction. Okay, now this equation is representing you how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing per second from phase A dash A B B dash, right? So this becomes our first equation. We can call this as A. Okay, now the next thing what we will do is, once we calculate how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing per second from this phase, we will try to calculate how much is the mass of fluid that is flowing per second from the right phase. Okay, to do that, again, if I have to write how much is the mass of fluid flow per second, first I will write rho u delta y delta z. Now I am going in the direction of the x, so that's why I will add positive symbol here. Now how much is the thing to be added to this rho u delta y by delta z? It will be the change of du by dx into delta x by 2. Again, what is this distance from here to here? This is same, which is delta x by 2 itself, isn't it? Right. Now it will be multiplied with the area of this face. The area of face is delta y delta z. So once you calculate, let me call this as B equation. Okay, now if I have to calculate how much is the net mass of fluid that is flowing per second in the x direction, how much is the net mass of fluid that is flowing in x direction, I can do the summation of m1x and m2x. Okay, but m1x is in the direction of the x, but m2x is opposite to the direction of x. So that's why I'll write m1x plus of minus of m2x, which means m1x minus m2x. So we need to substitute these two equations over here. We already know what is m1x and m2x. Let me substitute these two equations back into this. Okay, so rho u delta y delta z, rho u delta y delta z will get cancelled. So what is left over is minus 2 times of dou rho u by dou x delta x by 2 delta y delta z. 2 will again get cancelled. What is left over is minus dou rho u by dou x into delta x delta y delta z. Now tell me, what will be delta x multiplied by delta y multiplied by delta z? It is the volume of the parallelepiped. Okay, you remember this. Now similarly, we can write the equation for y direction and we can write the equation for z direction also. Now how do you write the equation for x and y and z direction? The only change that you can do in this equation for writing y and z direction is by changing the velocity component. So what is the velocity component in the y direction? It is v. Now what is the direction? Y. So that is what you need to keep on replacing. Wherever x was there, you have to replace with y. Wherever u was there, we have to replace with v, and you have to write down the respective area in that direction. So what is the area in the y direction? The area that you encounter in the y direction is delta x multiplied by delta z. So delta x multiplied by delta z. Now similarly for z direction also, what is the velocity component in the z direction? It is w, and the direction we call it as z, so it is differentiated with respect to z. Now what is the area in which the z direction encounters? The area with which the z direction encounters is delta x multiplied by delta y. This is the area, right? Similarly, we have written the net mass of fluid that is flowing per second in x direction, y direction and z direction. So this is the mass of fluid that is flowing inside this parallelepiped. So what I'll do is I'll take the sum of these three equations. I've taken the sum of these three equations. The total mass of fluid flowing per second in the parallelepiped will be this equation. See, what I have done is I have taken the sum of equation 1, 2 and 3. I have summed it up. After summing up, this is what I'll get. Minus of into bracket rho dou u by dou x plus of rho dou v by dou y plus of dou rho w by dou z into delta x, delta y, delta z. So this is what the equation I'll get for total mass of fluid that is flowing per second. Now, going back to the basics, what is the basics that I explained you? The rectangular tank or a circular tank that you have at the top of your building. So there input minus output will be equal to change in storage, right? So now this total mass of fluid that is flowing per second inside the parallelepiped is representing the inflow minus outflow. Now let us try to understand what is the change of mass of fluid in parallelepiped. So this is written here. This change of mass of fluid in parallelepiped is representing the change of storage in the parallelepiped. Okay. Now this is representing. Let us go back to this equation. I'll write briefly this equation. Input minus output in your rectangular or circular tank. Okay. Will be plus or minus change in storage, right? So we know how much is input minus output. Input minus output is represented by total mass of fluid that is flowing per second in parallelepiped. Okay. Now let us calculate how much is change in storage so that we can equate it to it. Okay. So the change of mass of fluid in a parallelepiped is represented by, let us go back to what is this condition. Okay. Now what is rho? Rho is represented by again kg per meter cube. If it is multiplied by delta x, delta y, delta z. What is delta x, delta y, delta z? I have already explained you what is delta x, delta y, delta z. It is the volume of the parallelepiped. Okay, so the rho is multiplied by the volume. So what will this give me? It will give me the mass of fluid inside the parallelepiped. Okay, now this mass is going to change with respect to time. So that's why this equation is dou rho dou delta x, delta y, delta z divided by dou t. Okay, this is representing the change of mass of fluid inside the parallelepiped. Okay, now we know how much is input minus output, we know how much is change of storage. Now we can equate these two equations. After equating these two equations, this is what the equation I get. Okay, this is what your continuity equation is. This is the continuity equation in the most general form. Okay, now in the previous lectures you already know what is the different type of fluids that we have. Okay, there are compressible fluids and there are incompressible fluids. Air being the compressible fluid, water being the incompressible fluid. So basically, if I have to explain the more general form, you can compress the air but you cannot compress the water, right? So that's why most of the fluid that we deal in our real life as a civil engineers, we do not encounter the compressible fluids. We encounter with only incompressible fluid, which is water. So that's why I can consider a situation where this equation can be turned for only compressible fluid. Okay, next, there are different types of flow which you already studied. There are steady flow, unsteady flow, uniform flow, non-uniform flow, laminar flow, turbulent flow, and all of those. Now going back to what is the basic condition of steady flow condition. What is steady flow says? The fluid properties does not change with respect to time. That kind of fluid flow we call it as steady flow condition, right? Now let us make this equation a steady state condition equation. So look into all the terms. Whichever term is differentiated with respect to time, you have to remove it. Okay, now see here, dou rho u by dou x, it is not differentiated with respect to time. Similarly this none of them are differentiated with respect to time, but you can see that the density is changing with respect to time. Okay, now if I have to reduce this equation for only steady flow condition, okay, now this equation can be used for both steady and unsteady condition, but if I have to reduce this equation for only steady flow condition, what I need to do is that I have to remove this dou rho by dou t. Okay, now I can write this equation like this: dou rho u by dou x, okay, plus of dou rho v by dou y plus of dou rho w by dou z is equals to 0. Now I have sent that minus sign to that side, and this has been already equal to 0. Now this is what left over. Now this equation can be only adapted in case of steady flow conditions. Okay, this is the most generalized form. It can be used for both steady and unsteady flow, but this equation can be used for only steady flow condition. Now going to compressible and incompressible fluid. What does compressibility means? Any density changes with respect to direction, we call it as compressible fluids, right? Now if the fluid is incompressible in nature, it means what? The density will not vary with respect to space. So in that case, what could be the equation? This equation will be reduced like this. See whether it is correct or not. Dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y, plus of dou w by dou z is equals to 0. So which means that rho will not change with respect to x, rho will not change with respect to y, rho will not change with respect to z. It means what? Rho is remaining constant, right? So that's why this is another equation which has been developed only for steady flow incompressible fluid. Okay, so this equation can be used for steady flow incompressible fluid, and this equation can be used for all the conditions: unsteady flow, steady flow, compressible, incompressible fluid. It can be used for anything. Okay, now there are flow problems which are three-dimensional. There can be a situation in which the fluid is flowing in 3 dimension, all the 3 dimension. There can be a condition in which the fluid is flowing in only 2 direction, which is 2 dimensional, or the fluid can have a single directional force flow. So that's how you define 1 dimensional, 2 dimensional, 3 dimensional flow. Now assume that there is a fluid flow condition in which the fluid is flowing either in x direction or in the y direction. In that case, this equation will be reduced to dou u by dou x plus of dou v by dou y. Now you might be thinking, why I am reducing those equations? We are reducing the equations because whenever we want to solve the problem, whenever you want to solve the fluid flow problems, if you want to simplify your mathematical equations, you have to make some of the assumptions and you have to consider some of the limitations. So if the fluid is not 3-dimensional flow, then there is no need to go for 3-dimensional flow conditions. We can use only 2-dimensional flow condition. If the fluid is incompressible in nature, we can go with the equations where you can simplify the mathematical equation to only apply for incompressible fluid instead of using the general condition. Okay, this is what continuity equation is. Now you might be thinking what this basically continuity equation gives you. In future, when you are discussing about the application point of view, I would be explaining you what is the importance of this equation. But in simple format, if I had to tell you what is this incompressible fluid, what is this continuity equation is, whenever the fluid flows, it changes its velocity with respect to spatial distance. So the velocity changes with respect to x, y and z, right? So whatever the change that is happening in the flow in x, y and z, the net or the total or the sum of all the changes should be equal to 0. This is what the continuity equation says. And any fluid flow that satisfies this condition is called as general fluid flow condition. Okay, all the fluid flow will accept this condition of flow, will accept the continuity equation. Okay, so this completes your continuity equation. If you have any doubt with this continuity equation derivation, you can ask me, you can message me so that we can discuss about this. Okay, thank you.